Welcome back to Andertons, everybody. I'm back with Nick in the studio today. Because, I don't know, do you want to take a guess before we've got a guitar in here, which is a Squire White Strat. We've got a Marshall here.
Which is white.
We've got a JHS copy of an old DoD preamp. There's the giveaway, right?
Very thin strings. Very thin strings.
There sounds like a stars in their eyes moment, but Nick, who are you going to try and be today?
Today, Matthew, I'm going to try my best to sound like Yngwie Malmsteen for under £1,000, not including the money spent on guitar lessons. Because
fine, or hairspray.
Or hairspray.
Okay, so before we dive into it, I think, you know, the audience who watch Andertons TV but haven't seen you before, why are you qualified to tell us how to be Yngwie on this kind of budget?
Okay, well, so I am a huge Yngwie fanboy. We're approximately the same size and shape. So, you know, in silhouette, like Matt Groening said, like, you're a great cartoon character, would be recognizable in silhouette. If you lit me from behind and I did the leg kick, I could maybe pass for Yngwie. So I've done a few bits and bobs for Guitar Interactive, covering Malmsteen's thing. But more than anything, to be honest, I'm just kind of a bit of a student of how he plays. He's one of my big, like, I guess heroes, if you want to call it that. But he's got this really idiosyncratic style, which is often misunderstood. I guess you can say that about Yngwie in general. Yeah, more is more. But like, he's kind of a misunderstood cat anyway, and people kind of like listen to the generic high gain sound and go, oh, that's Yngwie. It's really not. There's more to it than just like, oh, here's high gain amp on 10. There is some weird and wonderful gear, particularly the Dodd preamp or the JHS version of the Dodd preamp. The other thing is the pickups, the strings, all of this stuff, which we'll discover in a second, contributes to the big Yngwie thing, I guess. And they're all as important as each other. You can't have one thing. It's a little like, you know, if you think about Brian May, for example, everybody fixates on the AC30. They fixate, rightly so, on the Burns pickups and on the Red Special. But some of the things that people miss are the treble booster, which is just crucial. No treble booster, no Brian May. And the 5p, in my case, because you can't get sixpence. So, like, you know, penny cheaper than Brian May.
Well, look,
Yngwie's like that.
We're going to unbox this. We'll probably put this on speedy cam now. But we have a completely box fresh Squire Affinity Strat. So one of these are going to be about 200 quid.
We've brought this whole thing in, by the way. It's under £1,000. I've priced this up new, including the strings, for £999.98.
That's insane. So this is instead of his signature kind of Fender Strat, the sort of big headstock scallop fretboard kind of Strat.
You won't get the scallop frets or anything resembling that.
We could try and scallop. No, we're not going to try and scallop this.
Somebody might
Pass
buy
me
this.
a spoon. And what about and what are the pickups in his signature guitar?
The pickups in the signature guitar are, top of my head, it's the YGM Furies, which are DiMarzio stacked single coils.
Right.
But people have this idea, I say people, I mean, I don't know who these people are, but there is this idea that for the shred thing, for the Malmsteen thing, you need these hot, high output pickups. Yngwie plays traditional 50s style single coils, which are bright,
the stacked element of it is just a hum cancelling thing, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So it's not gain.
Yeah, and as you'll hear, there's lots of noise involved in.
So we don't have those. We don't have hum cancelling pickups in this. We've got he was famous for having the DoD preamp and the noise gate, which in his Marshall amplifier were built into it, weren't they? When they did the signature.
In the YGM, the signature head, which was also too expensive.
So our Marshall attempt here is an Origin 20 combo, which is a sort of a vintagey vibe kind of Marshall.
Well, that's the thing. Like as you mentioned, Yngwie uses plexis, so these are not high gain, fire breathing Marshalls, which is where the DoD comes in. Now you find this a lot with players who kind of came up in that era, like Zach Wilde's another example. You'll find like a moderate gain Marshall sound with an overdrive pedal dimed, and the specific overdrive pedal, it's kind of specific to the player. So with Zach, you'd need a Boss SD1, which would have been a little more doable on our budget because this is quite an expensive pedal comparatively, which is why we've got the Origin 20, which is
how much did we spend on the pedal?
Top of my head, I think the pedal's 150.
Okay, so not too bad.
It's not huge, but it's a big chunk of a 1K budget.
I'm going to unbox this now on time lapse cam. Time lapse
Right.
over.
Hello. Yes.
Okay, so yes, I mean, inspired choice on the guitar. You've got, it's a Strat, it's got a big headstock.
Yeah.
It's not quite as yellow as it maybe needs to be.
It'll get there.
You think so?
Yeah,
Like
you
many
played
years
enough.
of smoky bars.
I think so. I mean, you don't get smoky bars these days. Not in the UK anyway. But I don't know. I mean, you're free to smoke in the comfort of your own home. You get free guitar lessons. I don't know if Fender do Yngwie Malmsteen guitar lessons.
Well,
if
they
not,
should.
Fender, call me.
Absolutely. Well, look, let's...
And it's got the big headstock as well, which I definitely knew when we spec'd this up and didn't just discover right now.
Here we are. One guitar. We haven't as
guitar.
yet restrung it, so we're not quite at full Yngwie mode yet. So you asked me on the amp to basically just gun it. So we've got the gain on 10. It has a pull-out boosty thing, which is pulled out. The tilt and the bass controls are all the way up. Mid, treble, and presence are about halfway. Fortunately for my ears, we have only set the volumes for about a quarter of the way up.
Yeah.
But it's surprisingly ungainy at this stage.
Yeah, well, this is where the DoD comes in, which we'll get to in a second, or the JHS take on the DoD comes in. But Yngwie's a plexi guy. Plexis don't have as much gain as people think they do. So maybe if you listen to like old Jimmy Page recordings and stuff, the guitars, they're not super gainy.
Yeah.
When you start to crank them, yeah, sure. But the other thing with this as well is we're running a Strat into essentially the bright channel of our pseudo plexi amp, which is where the tilt control comes in. So we turn that all the way up. That's like running into the high treble input. So
Right.
with this, you can kind of blend between the bass input and the treble input. You'd think it'd be a recipe for trebly death. And it kind of is.
I think it sounds okay.
I think it sounds pretty cool.
I don't know. Do you know? I can't even remember if we covered this or not. But this is an Origin 20 in cream. It's exactly the same spec as the regular black one of these.
But it's white.
But it's a cream-coloured one, and I don't think these are a limited thing. So when these are run out, they'll just be go back to revert to the old black one. But yeah, they both sound exactly the same. 10-inch speaker. I know in previous videos I've said this is a 12-inch speaker. My bad, I got that wrong. 10-inch speaker, 20 watts. I think, anyway, let's hear it. Let's hear it with no Dodd for the time being.
No Dodd. Not quite unleashing the fury.
It's a tiny bit of hair. I know I've played these with a Les Paul, and just powerful pickups would drive this, but with the Strat not. We actually haven't engaged. We've got a reverb pedal through the effects loop. Do you want that now, or should we just get the gain first?
Let's do the reverb, because the reverb is, again, it's one of these missing parts of the signal, which is the whole reverb. So this was built into the YJM, but it's something that you hear all over Yngwie's recorded stuff. It's really drippy wet. There's a lot of reverb on there. So we're going to dial ourselves a whole. If I remember rightly, it's top is whole. Should we dial?
Let's dial. Turn it on, see what happens.
Nothing. Silence.
Have we gone in the effects loop the wrong way?
Is it the right way around?
No, it's a 1. Yeah, it's fine. There's only one. Oh, you just trod on Nick's glasses.
Oh, no. So, like...
Oculus, repair us!
Oh, no! Never mind.
Do you know what? I've got to say, currently in the UK, and I don't know how this, works out in other countries, that magical kind of £499 price point that everybody sometimes, it's like if it was £501, that would be bad, but £499 is okay. The Origin 20, so many people that we get into the studio, they sort of psychologically go, oh yeah, £499, that's, and it's actually a great, I'm sitting here listening to this going, yes, you've got to gun it a little bit to compensate for the smaller speaker. Sure. Reverb definitely helps take the edge off the smaller speaker. But that is a really, already
it's
a
nice
really
it's
good
a nice
sound.
Tone, isn't it? I mean, that's why I wanted to start with the reverb, because it just friendlies everything up. Yeah. So, if you're in a room like we're in right now, where it's quite controlled, there's not a lot of reflection, things can sound really direct and they can be a little bit unpleasant. A bit of reverb in the effects loop makes a huge difference, especially when it's comes to playing loads of notes, because you get a little less self-conscious about, did I miss that one? It doesn't really matter. The reverb will catch it, and you get that I'm standing on top of a mountain, I am a Viking.
I think it sounds great. Anyway, so clearly, either this, or this is still a missing ingredient.
Yep.
My guess is this is probably the main.
We're going to start with
ingredient
that. That's the big guy.
And I've noticed you've just gone. Can I have everything on 10?
Yeah, full.
I don't recall from the launch of this what the difference between the SI and the number 75 setting is.
To my shame, no idea. One of them will be 8, and the other one will probably still be 8.
If anything, I vaguely recollect that Josh bought several of these Dodd overdrive pedals. Is it the Dodd 250 overdrive
250,
pedal?
yeah.
And when he looked inside the back of them, there were 2 variants across its sort of time span.
Yeah.
I think that. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what it was. Anyway, we'll try with the upward SI position.
Let's just see which one feels better.
Yes. I imagine it's going to get noisy in here, right? More is more.
We're getting there. It's not quite there yet, but we're getting there.
Can I try the 75 mode?
Yeah. It's close, Em.
I think 75 it's quite difficult to hear with this amount of gain. But right. The noise reduction, I mean, we've gone, this is probably the most affordable, well, apart from the strings.
Yeah.
I bet you there's actually not a big price difference between this pedal and a packet of strings.
There's not. You can get less than 3 packets of those strings for the price of that noise reducer.
And that's why we have it, right? Listen.
As if by magic.
Does it choke the ability to play the guitar a little bit, or?
We'll find out. So let's play. Not really.
No, not really.
Honest,
that's effective.
Really. I think that's the positioning of it, though. I think it's because it's after the overdrive. So what the noise reducer is seeing is this big square wave that's coming from our overdrive pedal. So, even playing fairly softly, you still get that big square slab of overdrive that, it's not going to cut off like a gentler pick attack would do if you were plugged straight into the front.
I guess
this is the difference.
Strings is brilliant, right? Because I think there's every point of view on strings. From Stevie Ray Vaughan got great tone because he had heavy strings, and Jimi Hendrix had super light strings, or Billy Gibbons has light strings, and obviously Yngwie has light strings. And it's like, I genuinely, I know what I like.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only advice that anyone should give about strings is if you've tried 8s, 9s, 10s, 11s, you've maybe tried E flat, you've tried whatever.
Yeah.
And you go, the set I like and the tuning I like best is this one.
Yeah.
Then that's the best. That's the best set. Everyone else has just done the same thing and come to maybe a different conclusion, but it doesn't matter.
I agree.
But
the best set is the one. The best sounding set is the one that you sound the best playing.
Yes.
Let's just say that right up ahead. So there is a difference in tone, for sure, but that is going to be counteracted by the way you play. So weirdly for Yngwie, he has quite a heavy pick attack.
Right.
He digs in a lot, but he has these very light strings. We haven't gone all the way to 8s.
Yeah, why not? Because I thought he used 8s.
He uses 8s,
right?
But it's a hybrid gauge, so it's an 8 on top, and then it becomes progressively heavier as it goes on. Now you can find, I think Fender make a set off the shelf, or it might be Dean Markley. That's the Yngwie set, and it goes all the way to a 48 on the bottom, so it's pretty heavy.
Right.
So what we're actually going to do is we're going to leave the low E string on here, just to keep that thud on the bottom. But what you'll find is, up until now, at least, the tone... I mean, what we're going for here, I should say as well, we're going for that classic early Yngwie tone. So this is not modern day, refined Yngwie. This is 19-year-old Yngwie. You're fresh out of Alcatraz with limited technology, like we're using today. That's the idea. But what you will find is the tone's a little bit dark, a little bit thuddy, until you put the strings on and you tune it to E flat, and then all of that wiry gnarliness should, if my theory is correct, should come out.
We'll do something where play something now. So we're in E standard with 9 to 42s on it, and then we won't talk. We'll just time lapse showing you changing the strings, and we'll go straight into into the playing again, so that hopefully you can hear what did it sound like in E tuning with these strings. I'm just putting it out there now. I bet it doesn't sound that different, but hey ho,
see.
Yes.
It's very noisy.
I take it back.
There's something, right?
I can't decide if it's the fact that as you've drop tuned, it's making the vibrato different. It's there's more vibrato. It is a slightly different sound, I think. Although but I said I don't know if that's the E flat thing or the difference or everything.
It could be, but there's a wiriness on there that you don't get with a tighter string. I don't think, personally. And it's not the easiest to play. So, personally, I'm more about bigger strings, lower action. That's my kind of... Whereas Yngwie is little strings, huge action. That's his trick. You should see it. It's like, even with the scallop, it's like you could drive a bus under there.
Wow.
But the guy's got hands, like his pinky finger is like my thumb, only like that long. It's unbelievable. And it shows in his guitar playing. So when he says, I play with a high action, believe it. Like, it's gypsy jazz action. It's crazy high. And this is like, it's a moderate action. It's in between. It's higher than I like, but it's what most folks would get on with. That with the lighter strings, it just does something. And I think there's a certain meow, I guess, that you get. Now, Alan Holdsworth talked about this. Like, he hated that meow sound, which is why he didn't really do the pull-offs thing. But that meow, that wow kind of thing that you get with a very light string, with a very aggressive touch, is a huge part of the Yngwie sound.
Yes, so. I've not heard it called meow, but you hear the metal players and some of the guys that like the Evertune thing so much, because it's that initial oscillation of the string before it comes back into pitch. Do you know what? So I've heard, I quite like that, but I can completely understand how, I think if you want a nice tight sound and a real in tune kind of sound, I can understand why that's not desirable.
I think that's why Yngwie uses like a 48 on the low E. And in fact, we can compare, to be fair. So if we would take, let's take, there will be a difference between a fretted note and an open string anyway. So let's maybe do B. So if we chug on like the B on the low E string, which is still a thicker string, and then we compare it to the gauge 30 that we have on the A string, you'll hear a difference.
Okay.
Now, there will be a difference because of the so much reverb. It's not even funny.
I know,
but
to be fair, we put more reverb on, didn't we, for that second pass?
We cranked that up a little bit, but it's part of the noise.
Yeah.
You need the reverb. I need the reverb, that's for sure, but it is part of the tone.
I think you've done a extremely convincing job of Marshall tube amplifier. Doesn't have to be the most expensive one ever or the loudest one ever. That's, for me, the fact that you can buy a £200 guitar and stick some cheap, different strings on it.
It's definitely the colour of the big headstock.
Yeah. I almost feel like, in the great big world of pedals, I bet there's a 50 quid pedal that sounds similar to the Dot as well. And but
there wasn't one in stock in Andertons.
Well, there isn't another brand other than this one that's gone, I've copied the DoD 250 circuit, but what I mean is, I bet there is a cheap pedal that sounds pretty similar. They just haven't marketed it.
So
like
that was the trade-off for me. It was, do we do the authentic pedal, and do the smaller amp, or do we get the Origin 50, which is bigger with a 12-inch speaker, and get maybe
like
an SD1
pedal or something.
Which probably, to be fair, would have done the job. But I feel like the pedal's such a cool thing, and I wanted to play it. That's basically the top and bottom line.
Genuinely. Yeah. As long as I think you can use, you can get a reverb pedal, you can have a couple of pedals, and you can crank this up a little bit. This blows me away every time I hear it. I really do.
I agree.
Well, look,
I agree.
Come shred out just your best, Yngwie Malmsteen. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in another video soon.